Hello, this is Deborah Yao with Black Education TV. This is a follow-up video regarding the last video I did where I was talking about no longer considering ourselves Hebrew Israelites. And it's a shame that I have to do this follow-up video, but I think a lot of times our people have selective hearing. And so I want to bring clarification to those who seem to be confused about what I was trying to say exactly. I also wanted to do this video because there are a lot of people that are coming into this part of the truth that fully understand where I'm coming from because they were almost prevented from coming into this truth from hearing some of the rhetoric surrounding being a Hebrew Israelite, which is one of the major points I was trying to make, guilt by association of a term that was never really meant for us to begin with. Now, many of you have equated to this, oh, she's afraid, oh, she's trying to avoid persecution and all this other garbage and nonsense. In which, if that were the case, I wouldn't be putting my face out there and doing videos and, talking about these things openly and publicly. Now, you have people who come on videos and make comments and say all this stuff about what they think about what you're saying. But you don't see them putting their face out there. You don't see them publicizing who they are. No one knows who you are other than a name and a screenshot of you on social media. So this has absolutely nothing to do with fear. Nothing. Because our family has been out there for a few years now talking about things that most people wouldn't even dare confront. Okay? And so, in all thy getting, get understanding. We were trying to bring understanding to a situation that has been skewed from the beginning. We are not Hebrew. That was not the term used. That was the point I was trying to make. So why associate yourself with something that's being linked to something terrible just because you want to keep that name? I think it's kind of funny and hypocritical of some of our people when, we think about Christianity, for instance. When I made the video why I'm no longer a Christian, right? You had people saying, oh, she's denying Christ. And I'm like, nowhere in the video did I say that I am rejecting Hamashiach. But this is what you're hearing because you're looking at a title and not hearing the conclusion of the whole matter. This goes far beyond your need and desire to be attached to something. Many of you have become used to being called Hebrew Israelite. You love it. You like it. And so now that a different light is being shed on the subject, you're infuriated by it. And you're like, oh, she's rejecting who she is. She's rejecting the Most High. Nowhere in the video did I denounce being an Israelite. Nowhere in the video did I denounce the Most High. This is why it's very important to hear. Hearken, listen carefully. The Most High has said in the Word, the Scripture actually says that the children of Israel were dull of hearing. Do you know what dull of hearing means? It means that you are not hearing and comprehending everything that is being said before you start saying things or objecting to things. No one is trying to avoid persecution. Here is my deal, and this should be your deal too. If you're going to be persecuted for something, let it be persecution for righteousness' sake. We know that is coming. That has already begun. That has already been happening. Our family has already experienced that. We are not saying to denounce being one of the children of the Most High. We are not saying denounce the Most High. We are simply talking about that term, Black Hebrew Israelite. And I made that very clear in the video. And I would like to say thank you to some of you who are in the comment section who are trying to drive that point home and reiterating what I've already said in the video. I think what it is the video is kind of long. And so some of you, instead of listening to everything that is being said, you look at the title and you just go out your mind and you start drawing conclusions based on a title. When if you took the time to listen and heard the conclusion of the whole matter, you wouldn't have said most of the things that you've said. Kind of reminds me of the video that I did years ago, Say No to Black History. The number of people who read that title, Say No to Black History, without even daring to look at the video. I remember early on I had people saying, man, I was mad as I don't know what after I read this title. But then when I finished listening to the video, I understood what you were saying and where you were coming from. I was not saying to forget about Black history. Wasn't saying that at all. But unless you hear the video and you only look at the title, you're going to draw your own conclusion. You're going to let your mind and your imagination run wild based on the title. Listen, I am not denouncing our heritage for those of you who continue to say that in the comment section. I am not denouncing our heritage. I'm just simply telling you our heritage was not that of Hebrew. I'm simply saying that the terminology used was another one of those words assigned to something that wasn't the original word. Like I stated, we were not Jews and we are not Hebrews. If you look up the original word, it was ivory. That's the point I was trying to make. And so instead of attaching yourself to a cultish movement such as the Black Hebrew Israelites, when that's not what we were, someone else made a good point. You don't have to say black because the Israelites were black. So you don't need to say black as if there are some white Hebrew Israelites. When you put black on it, you're further diminishing who we are because the Israelites were black. There's no need to say, I'm sorry, we weren't black. I'm going to say brown. That black terminology is yet another one of those words that was assigned to us. Now, my channel, Black Education TV, was established many, many years ago before I knew who we were. And a lot of our people, if they were to search for anything dealing with our people, they're not going to look up Hebrew because they don't know we're Hebrews. You understand what I'm saying? The point I'm trying to make, too, is that when truth is brought forth, don't get offended by it and start drawing conclusions that are not true. I love the Most High. I love that I am a bloodline Israelite. But in terms of calling myself a Black Hebrew Israelite, you all heard very clear the reason why I said I am no longer going under that banner. You heard it very clear, but you have the selective hearing and you want to equate it to fear. And, oh, she's just trying to avoid persecution. There is no avoiding of persecution when you are in the land of your captivity. That is not my purpose at all. If I wanted to avoid persecution, I would do what most of you do, which is keep your face hidden and just get behind the keyboard and say all the things that you say. If that's what I was truly trying to do. For the years that I've been doing this, you can read through the comment section and there's nothing but persecution and threats and all kinds of things. As a matter of fact, there was a threat by someone on the video where I was talking about no longer being a Black Hebrew Israelite. A threat right there. No one is trying to avoid persecution. Those are your own thoughts and your own imagination running wild. If I wanted to avoid threats and persecution, then I would stop doing videos along this nature. I would simply do my garden videos and my craft videos and all these other things. I understand what this fight is all about. But some of you keyboard warriors, you're not out here putting your face out here, putting out information that you know can make you a target. And so I felt the need to make this clarification because I wanted to be known and made very clear that I love Abba Yah. and that I will never denounce my Abba. I love my Abba. And I know what the scripture says about what we're going to go through as a people. We are going through that. The time of Jacob's trouble has been going on for a very long time. And a lot of these Gentiles, they know who we are. And they do things to us regardless. And the point of the whole Black Hebrew Israelite movement and being connected to cults and terrorism and religious extremism, the point is very well made when you turn on videos and you see these brothers out on the street saying the things that they're saying. There is absolutely nothing wrong with detaching yourself from that nonsense. We're not detaching ourselves from our heritage. This dull of hearing spirit that we have as a people is ridiculous. You are hearing what you want to hear. And you're so bothered by the fact that a lot of people are starting to wake up to the fact that this Hebrew Israelite movement has been a tarnishment on the true awakening. It has become a cult, and you know it has. I know so many people that delayed coming into this knowledge of the truth because of the things that they are seeing, because of the ignorance that is coming forth out of this Hebrew Israelite cult. This is not what the awakening is supposed to look like. You have these cultish behaviors with these brutish men taking on all these wives, being abusive and all this other nonsense, making threats against other nations, spewing garbage, denying Hamashiach, doctrines all over the place, lacking unity, lacking love, spewing hate against your own people. You think this is the awakening? That's what the Hebrew Israelite, Black Hebrew Israelite cult has become about. Now, for those of you who are coming into the knowledge of the truth of who we are as a people, our bloodline, I want to encourage you to stay the course in following the Most High. And I was really happy to hear a lot of you say that you've never considered yourself a Black Hebrew Israelite and that your walk is with the Most High. That made me proud to hear that many of you had enough integrity up front to say, okay, I'm not going to use that terminology. You never used it. You never did. But that did not hinder you from knowing that you are from the chosen seed, that you are descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That made my heart glad to hear that some of you never got caught up in this. And see, that's the way it should have been to begin with, you see. It's always been that way for us as well. It's just that is the identity marker that most of us have become familiar with, you see. But it's always been about my relationship with the Most High. And I am so glad that my love is for the Most High and that I don't need any title. I don't need to be under any religious organization, any camp. I don't need to be called a Christian. I don't need to be called a Hebrew Israelite because the relationship I have with the Father is solid enough on its own to where I don't need any of that. Our forefather Abraham did not call himself a Hebrew anything. The children of Israel didn't call themselves Hebrew Israelites. That term is nowhere in the Bible. And in technical terms, when the scripture talks about the 3 Hebrew boys, look up the word that was actually represented for Hebrew. It wasn't Hebrew. I'm sorry, family. That wasn't it. That's what I'm trying to say. No one is trying to avoid persecution. And I think many of you who made that statement knows. You're just like, okay, well, what do we call ourselves? What do we do? Then you don't have to call yourself anything. That's the problem. We are trying to find something to call ourselves. What did the apostles call themselves? Huh? We want to be under something. We want to be under some type of label or some type of organization, some type of group. I want to belong to something. You don't have to belong to any of that. What happened to just being a servant of the Most High Yah? You don't like that term, servant? Huh? Are you having flashbacks of slavery from being called a servant of the Most High Yah? So you want to hang on to the term Hebrew Israelite because it just feels good and it feels right. And then, of course, a lot of the songs and all these things. I mean, no one is telling you to stop listening to the music and all of these other things. I'm just saying, in all thy getting, get understanding. We see what the enemy is doing. But the Most High has said that he would be an enemy to our enemies. You have to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. The Most High will lead us and guide us into all truth. He will protect us. He will do things. No one is saying that we don't trust the Most High. Oh, the number of comments that I read that are just so out of balance. It just shows that the dull of hearing spirit is just running wild among our people. Hearing what you want to hear. This is not an issue of trusting the Most High. If you really truly trusted the Most High, you wouldn't even need to call yourself a black Hebrew Israelite or a Hebrew Israelite or anything. You wouldn't have to even call yourself any of that. But this need to belong to something is the thing that causes our people not to be able to hear or comprehend what's being said. I was talking about the family in Maryland who were being labeled as a religious extremist and terrorist because of their association with being called black Hebrew Israelites. How hard is that to understand? And all of the things that are linked to black Hebrew Israelites, in which one of the things that were laid at the charge of this family was abusive towards women. Now, it is a known fact. Can anyone deny that these men are being abusive towards our sisters? Is that not a true statement? How many sisters have I spoken with who have gone through abuse at the hands of some of these these black Hebrew Israelite men? How many times have I gotten comments on my videos where these black Hebrew Israelite men are calling me everything but a child of Yah? Wishing death on me, wishing death on black women in general. You prove my point. You can just read through the comment section on various videos that I've done, some of the rhetoric coming forth from these men, and tell me I'm crazy for not wanting to be associated with being called a black Hebrew Israelite, when I just made it very clear to you that I am a servant of the Most High Yah still. I'm still the chosen seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. No one is denouncing that. I think this should have been enough to at least clarify my position. No one is afraid. If I was afraid, I wouldn't be doing these videos. We have already been persecuted by our enemies. We already know what the word says about that. But like I said before, for those of you who are dull of hearing, if you're going to be persecuted, let it be for righteousness' sake, not because you have decided to label yourself as a black Hebrew Israelite. That is not being persecuted for righteousness' sake because you're called a black Hebrew Israelite. That has nothing to do with righteousness. That's just a name or a title that you've given yourself. Being persecuted for righteousness' sake is just that. It has nothing to do with what you call yourself, because you have people who are being persecuted for being Christians. Now, I know it's not the same thing, but there are persecutions that are happening all over this world. Right now, Muslims are being persecuted for being Muslim. You see, you have obese people being persecuted for being obese. Persecutions are happening to everybody. But the difference is the scripture said that we, the children of Israel, would be persecuted for righteousness' sake. And being a black Hebrew Israelite, I ain't got nothing to do with that. So I wish our people would stop playing these games trying to pretend like they don't know what a person is talking about and assigning your own meanings to things. I still don't consider myself a goddamn Hebrew Israelite. For those of you who just don't get it, too bad. I still don't consider myself one of those. I am proud and honored to be a daughter of Zion who loves the Most High Yah, who loves my mispacha. I love my people. But I really wish we would get a grip on reality and stop getting so twisted up in things and don't have understanding. I mean, I got some of the same comments from people saying, oh, she's denouncing Christ. She's denouncing the Messiah. I'm like, oh, my goodness. And sometimes it's best not to even respond to that foolishness. But like I said, those of you who are new to this understanding of the truth, this is really for you so that you can stay encouraged and so that you can blow past all of the rhetoric that you are seeing and hearing, because many of you have shared your testimonies with me and my husband that you almost went right by this truth because of the things that you are seeing. Even one of my husband's nieces said the same thing, that the way we explained it, it really drove it home for her, because the things she was hearing from the people when she Googled Hebrew Israelite, all of the stuff she pulled up left a bad taste in her mouth. That's what's happening. When you coin yourself as a Hebrew Israelite and you try to share this truth with people, when they Google it, the majority of the times, this negative garbage comes up and it makes people say, I don't want to have anything to do with that. Those are the people I'm concerned with. I'm concerned with those who are seeking the truth, but they are finding this garbage from these men on street corners. That's who my concern is for. Those of you who want to hold on to that name, I'm not mad at you. If that's what you want to do, so be it. But get it right when you listen to me speak against being opposed to being called a Hebrew Israelite. Get it right. I am not rejecting who I am. I am not denouncing my heritage. I am not denouncing the Most High. I am not afraid of persecution. So get it right. For those of you who are new, I thank Abba Yah that you've been able to move past some of the things that you saw and continue to seek the truth. But I don't want you to be discouraged, because I've seen that happen. One dear sister that I had years ago, she came into this truth through a brother. And this brother treated this sister so horrible that she went running scared from this. And I know what some of you are going to say. Well, she was never in the truth to begin with. Here's the deal. For those of you who like to say those things, she wasn't even allowed to get solidly founded in this truth before her heart was ripped to pieces. That's the point I'm trying to make for those of you who act like you don't have an understanding. People are being brought into this truth, and then they are leaving it faster than they can get settled in it because of the nonsense involved with being a Hebrew Israelite. And so this is why we want to bring more light and understanding to the truth of who we are. We want to draw that line of separation from the cult that has been established. Yes, I am calling it a cult, because when you look at a lot of the things that are taking place, very cultish in nature. I mean, you have people saying, or if you ain't down with their camp, you ain't saved, or you ain't no true Israelite, you ain't in the truth. I mean, what are you talking about? So you think the Most High waited thousands of years for you to establish your camp before the truth can get out to the world? That is a delusional, prideful person to think that no one can be ushered into the kingdom unless they come through your camp. Like I said, if this is the foolishness you want to stay attached to, for those of you who got all in the comment section, all filled with your emotional attachment to being a Hebrew Israelite, if that's what you want to stay attached to, have at it. But I'm going to continue on with what I believe, and I'm going to continue to speak to those who are coming into this truth and want the real understanding and real knowledge of what we're supposed to be doing in this last day. Our devotion is supposed to be to the Most High, not to some weird religion established by a bunch of hooping and hollering men on the streets. Don't be devoted to that. Be devoted to your service to Yah. All praise, glory, and honor belongs to the Most High Yah, not to the terminology Black Hebrew Israelite or Hebrew Israelite. If that's the case, why don't you just call yourself a Jew? Why don't you call yourself Jewish? If you're going to call yourself a Hebrew, just call yourself a Jew then. What's the big deal? As a matter of fact, someone in the comment section did say that. And I think I really don't know what to say to these kind of statements. But this person said, I am a black Jew of Hebrew descent. I'm like, oh my goodness. Did you hear anything that was said? You are not a Jew. There was no letter J. What did our people call themselves? We were the tribe of Yehuda. We were not Jews. In all I get understanding. If you're going to be persecuted, and I know I'm repeating some things, but I'm trying to drive home a point before I cut this video off. If you are going to be persecuted for something, let it be for righteousness' sake. Not because you have been lumped together with a group of loudmouth, brutish men spewing hate and garbage on the street corners. Hopefully this time you got what I was trying to say. If you didn't this time, I'm sorry. But that is on you, family. We have work to do. We're going to continue the work of the Most High Yah. You can continue to be a keyboard sniper and say all the things that you want to say behind the keyboard. But until you put your face out here and declare the truth that you believe, then I think you should refrain from calling someone a coward. Okay? And with that, I will say shalom to my people.